Well, that's exactly right. I totally agree with you. Now, let's look at some of the main stressors and the causes of stress that there are in industry today. So, a question. What are the things that are causing you stress today? Too much work. How many of you in the audience here are experiencing too much work? Many of you. Any of you in the audience experience too little work to do? Right, interesting. Because some people tend to think that it's only too much work that causes stress. They forget that sometimes too little work also causes stress. Is that looking at the watch in the morning at 9 o'clock, looking at the watch at 10 o'clock, and looking at the watch at lunchtime, and waiting for the clock to tick by to 5 o'clock to when you can get home. So both the not having enough to do and having too much to do are stressors. So an important point there. Now, one of the things that people tend to forget is one of the major issues that we have, which is lack of recognition and reward. So how many of you in the audience are well and truly feel appreciated? Not enough. So you'd like to feel that you're of value? Yes, you bet. You'd like to feel you're making a difference? You bet again. And more and more I speak to people, and I coach people, and I train people. These are the very issues that I hear day after day. My manager never says thank you. I don't feel appreciated. When I write a report, he never says to me, that was a job well done. I had a manager the other day who said to me, I asked my staff to come in over the weekend. And I said, okay. And I said, were they happy with that? And they said, well, they did that. They were fine. They came in. And I said to him, did you say thank you? And he looked at me and he said, thank you? Why should I say thank you? They got paid to do their job. That's not what we're talking about. That's not getting more from our people. That's not making people feel valued and a part of the team. And if only we can get to some of those very core, simple issues, then we will actually get that performance and productivity that each and every one of you are striving to achieve. So valuing, recognizing, saying thank you. And another one. Saying, dare I say it, good morning. A manager said to me the other day that when his CEO comes into the office, he never even bothers to say good morning. Just comes in, goes to his office, and closes the door. And this CEO prides himself on an open door policy. Well, hey ho. The open door policy means that he may be inside his room, the door may be open, but actually he's not available. So the open door policy comes in with communications. And it is my belief that senior managers have the key to managing stress in the workplace. Because they need to communicate effectively. They need to manage their teams. They need to manage their people. And saying thank you and recognizing and valuing them are a part of the main keys to how it is that they can go forward. And if that manager doesn't have the communication skills, if it doesn't come naturally for them to communicate, and you yourselves know whether it's natural for you to communicate or not, if it doesn't come naturally to have that communication, then get trained. Speak to somebody. Get coached, whatever it's going to take for yourselves to actually achieve the communication skills that you need. Managers need to walk the talk. They need to value their people. They need to be able to manage their teams effectively. They need to be able to take their teams, inspire them, and to motivate them, and to lead them. How are you going to get from A to B unless you have a leader, unless you have the person there who drives you, who motivates you, who ultimately, simple word, appreciates and values you? The main keys that there are to managing stress in industry today. And do you know something? What does it cost? What does it cost, all that I've said to you? 0. It costs nothing. So whether you want to be trained, whether you feel you need to be trained, or whether you think somebody else in your team should be trained, whatever that is, it doesn't matter. But ultimately, at the end of the day, everybody needs to be able to communicate. There's no point in being a manager and managing their team without thinking to themselves, how am I going to do that? If you haven't got the skills, get the training. If you have got the skills, then you'll know what it's doing. Because you're going to get more from your people if people love what they do. Work is love made visible. Khalil Gibran, the famous words from the prophet. And those words ring in our ears and should ring in our ears morning, noon, and night. Because if you're wanting more from your people, at the end of the day, you may actually realistically not be able to pay them anymore. Thank you will suffice. Appreciation will suffice. Actually saying to somebody, I appreciate what you have done, you'll get so much more from them. So listening, communicating, senior managers, you're all senior managers here. You have the key to managing stress in your organizations. Bottom line benefit, performance, productivity will soar. Employees will feel valued, recognized. You see them wanting to be at work. And if you ask them to do something else for you, they may not be paid anything extra. That may be so. But the thank you goes a very, very long way. And in my role as an expert witness to the UK courts, I can tell you that most of those cases that I see, and I have to actually look at the information, investigate the information, what makes one employee decide to sue their boss? Not necessarily work overload. It's the one skill. It's usually the lack of communication skills. That particular employee didn't feel valued. They didn't feel respected. They didn't feel that they had a place in that organization. And when they ultimately went to their boss and said to them, I feel there's too much for me to do. I feel that that there's bullying behavior in my department. And my boss says to me, go away. It's really okay. Ignore it. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't want to ignore it anymore. It gets to the point where I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to ignore it. Why should my organization get away with putting too much work onto me? Why should my organization get to the point where they're thinking to themselves, they can get away with it? Why should my organization be sitting there comfortably when I'm going home upset and devastated? So what am I going to do? Very simply, I'm going to sue them. And I don't think anybody in this audience, in the organizations that they represent, are going to want to be sued. It costs you time, effort, money, poor PR. Nobody wants to work for an organization that hits the newspapers. So think about it. Think about the fact that you want to be an organization that actually offers excellence. Excellence to their people, so where people are a part of a team, where people feel like they're working in a community where we're all pulling together. We're all working together for the good of the cause. All working together in order that our organizations can fly. And then the shareholders will be very happy. And that is so. So let's take some of that learning. Let's take some of those core concepts with the bottom line benefit is huge, but the investment is tiny. So therefore, it's costing you only 0 in order to put some of those skills into practice.